Hello and welcome. Today we are looking at the Cheerson CX-39 Watcher drone. This is a 1080p GPS drone that has automated features such as auto takeoff, auto land, surround, waypoints, and has a tiltable camera. So let's check it out. Now the drone comes in this large white rectangular box with a clear area here to the side where you can see the drone. And this is from Cheerson. It's the CX-39 Watcher for ages 14 plus. And it has 5.8 gigahertz Wi-Fi. And it says here, intelligent photography. So, pretty cool there. Here in the back of the box, we have quite a bit of information here. It's showing the quadcopter and all its parts, and showing the new 5.8 gigahertz FPV 200 meter range smartphone and app. And here down at the bottom we have all of its features such as follow me, GPS return home, voice control, 360 panoramic view photos, circle around, so on and so forth. And here on the side it says Watcher. And last but not least, at the bottom of the box we have the QR codes for the app depending on your region. And apparently there's a 720p Wi-Fi model of this, but this one is the 1080p Wi-Fi model. And here it has a little grid here showing the contents. So without further ado, let's open her up and see what's inside. Okay, there's one box right here. Let's pull this out. All right, one box there. I think there's another one in here. So there we go. We got both boxes right here. Let's see what's in this one here. Here we have the manual and transmitter and bag full of things here. Pretty cool. And here we have the drone. So let's sort all this out and take a closer look at the contents of the box. Now, taking a last look at the contents of the box, we have the CX-39 drone itself. It's 7.4 volt 900 milliamp LiPo battery, the charger for its battery, spare propellers, 4 prop guards, small screws, a screwdriver, the user manual, a micro USB charge cable for the transmitter and the transmitter itself, along with 2 screwable antennas that you put on top of the transmitter. So that's essentially the contents of the box. Now let's take a closer look at the drone. Now, taking a closer look at the drone, this is a very unique and interesting looking drone here. It is the Watcher, as you can see right here. And if you notice, the paint is kind of wearing out there a little bit. So kind of an interesting paint job there, but nonetheless pretty cool looking with its black and orange scheme here. Now this is a brushed motor GPS quadcopter, and it does have a smart battery right here that activates much like the DJI. So if you double press and have a long press right there at the end, it will activate. And if you double press again and have the second press for a while, it will turn off. And it does charge with this USB charger right here. And it does take about 90 minutes to a couple hours to charge, and you get about a 10-minute flight time. And just noticed here right now, here's a little bit of the orange paint, kind of talking about the paint job earlier. It was kind of painted in a very interesting way here. So just something to mention there. But moving along here, down below here we have its 1080p camera, and there is a 720p version of this, and it is manually tiltable. Even though the transmitter has these non-functioning rolling wheels, you do have to manually tilt it before takeoff, and it tilts about 90 degrees, a little bit upwards there and somewhat downwards. And it is a pretty clear camera, very good for pictures, but unfortunately there's a lot of jello in the footage, so perhaps this may need some sort of wedging in order to remove some of the jello. But I did notice that the footage does get a bit jello-y, but you can take some nice clear pictures if it is in a stationary position. Right here at the top, you'll notice it's SD card slot right here at the front. So that's where you would put the SD card. And right here in the front, it has a couple of lights here. And it has lights flat at the bottom here on all the legs. And it is fairly bright. It is pretty good for orientation. It would have been nicer to have maybe lights on each corner that aren't flat, so that you could see them from all angles, but it still is visible, and it's pretty bright here at the bottom, but unfortunately it's a bit flat there. Right here at the bottom you can see all its antennas. It's Wi-Fi and I think 5G antennas right here. See, it has a total of 3 here, so pretty good range there with the 5G or 5.8G Wi-Fi. And it has these foamy, rubbery landing legs here at the bottom, which are pretty good, but it doesn't seem to have enough padding to last for a long time with the friction of several landings. So just a bit of padding, but not much, so it might start scraping some of the plastic after a while. And it does come with propeller guards that you do have to screw in. There's small little screw holes there, and you would just simply align them and screw them in. So, but aside from that, that's essentially it for the quadcopter. Now let's take a closer look at the transmitter. Now, taking a closer look at the transmitter, this is a very comfortable round-shaped transmitter. Now, this transmitter does not take any AA or AAA batteries. It simply charges down here through its micro USB port, and it does include a micro USB cable so you can charge the battery. Now, briefly going over the controls, we have the left throttle stick and right rudder stick. And these sticks also act as buttons. So if you push the left throttle stick, that puts you in headless mode. And if you push in the right rudder stick, that'll adjust the rates of speed. So pushing it once will have 1 beep for the slowest rate, and I believe there's up to 3 rates of speed. Here in the center you have your on-off button. This is your return to home button. This is the surround button, so if you press that and you move forward or back for a little bit, you will essentially set the radius for the surround or orbit mode of the quadcopter. And if you move it to the right or left, you will also adjust the speed in which it's revolving around. So this is the orbit mode. This mode button here is simply for indoor or outdoor mode, basically enabling or disabling the GPS. This is your auto takeoff and auto land button. This button here is the mode button. So if you start the transmitter while keeping this button pressed, the throttle will become your right hand joystick, but you can interchange them with this button right here. At the top here we have these two wheels here, wheel controls, and they don't seem to do anything. They don't even adjust the tilt of the camera remotely on the quadcopter. So they just seem to be non-functional. Perhaps this is a generic control for other Cheerson quadcopters, and these wheel controls are used to possibly adjust a gimbal or something, but on this particular quadcopter they are not functional. And right here at the top we have two antennas here that it does come with. As you can see, you can screw them on here, and so it does come with these antennas, and they are foldable, as you can see here. So pretty good antennas that provide the quadcopter with around a 400 meter range of control, so that's pretty cool. And right here in the center we have an area here to mount your mobile device. So it has a pretty good amount of space there for either a large cell phone or a small, maybe a very small tablet, but definitely not a bigger tablet. So that's pretty nice. So you put your mobile device in there so you can fly with FPV. You have your antennas, and there seems to be some sort of a clip or something back here, but that's not really used. So overall, a very nice transmitter. It does have what appears to be a screen right here at the top center. If you look carefully in the light there, you can see the star logo for Cheerson and some writing down there. But it doesn't seem to be used for the flight of the quadcopter. It doesn't display any statuses or anything like that. It may light up, I believe, maybe when you're charging it, but really this screen isn't really used much or used at all. So that's essentially it for the transmitter. Now let's look at setting up the quadcopter for a first-time flight and add its app. Now, setting this drone up for its first flight is pretty straightforward. Once you have fully charged batteries within the drone and the transmitter is fully charged, and you also have your SD card inserted into the drone, you first start out by turning on the quadcopter by short pressing followed by long pressing the battery button and keeping it pressed until the lights go on. At that point, you need to bind to the drone, so you would turn on the transmitter like so, and then you move the left throttle stick up and down to bind to the quadcopter. And at that point, you should be bound to the quadcopter. Now, a couple of first-time recommended steps is first you want to calibrate your gyros. So while the quadcopter is flat on the ground and not moving, you want to put both sticks down and to the right, like so. You should see some flashes. And those quick flashes there were the calibration of the gyros by putting both sticks down and to the right. Next, you want to calibrate the compass, the GPS compass, and to do that, you simply pull down on the left throttle stick and very quickly move the right rudder stick up and down about 6 times until the quadcopter starts flashing very rapidly. Now you need to pay close attention to that pattern, because if you throttle down for a few seconds, it will activate the motors in idle state. So you definitely want to bring this down and quickly move the right rudder stick, because the way of starting and stopping the motors is simply by putting the left throttle stick all the way down and keeping it that way for about a couple of seconds. So to calibrate the gyro, simply put this down and then turn this a few times, and notice how the lights are blinking rapidly. At that point, you want to have the quadcopter facing up and then rotate about 2 to 3 times clockwise, like so. And you should see a couple of flashes once that's done. And then once that's complete, you face it flat on its horizontal axis, and you rotate it about another 2 or 3 times clockwise, like that. And then once that's done, you lay it flat. So now you simply wait until the lights go solid and you get GPS lock. And while you're waiting for that GPS lock, you can start connecting to the quadcopter using its app, so you can have the additional GPS features and Wi-Fi FPV, 5G Wi-Fi FPV. So now let's enter the app right now. So once in your mobile device's Wi-Fi settings, you want to look for an entry that says CX-39-1080p- and a serial number. And initially there is no default password or anything like that, so you just simply connect to that entry there in your Wi-Fi settings, and then at that point you can launch this app right here, which is CX Watchers, and that's in either the iOS or Android app stores, and it looks just like that. It has a little drone with a blue cloud icon. So once you download CX Watchers, you simply launch that. And here is the initial screen. You'll have a prompt there. You just confirm. And initially you might get some thumbnails of previous pictures or flights or videos that you've taken, because there's a little preview of the album. And right here you can see the album button, so you can actually go into that and you can see your pictures or your videos right there, and you can select them and share them or delete them or whatever operation you need to perform. But right here, what you really want to start out with is camera, and you will enter the app right here, and it will give you some information there for starting the app. But as you can see, we already have a live feed here with the quadcopter, and it has a pretty decent FPV distance or range, about 150 to 200 meters of Wi-Fi FPV, 5G or 5.8G Wi-Fi. So that's pretty good. Now, going over the app a bit, we have several controls and such on the app. Right here, you have some telemetry on number of satellites, flight time, if you have GPS signal, transmitter voltage, the transmitter signal strength, battery voltage on the quadcopter. Here you can toggle between photos and video, and right here you have several options, and here you can take burst shot, delayed shot, depending on the number of seconds and number of pictures you want to take. So definitely has some photo options there. Some options here. We have certain modes. We have VR mode that simply splits the screen like that for VR goggles. And we have the controller interface if you want to fly using the app. You have voice control where you can issue voice commands. You have the follow me function. You have GPS around, manual mode. I'm guessing this is the surround mode. And there's this 360 full view, which I believe takes panoramic pictures, so the drone rotates around on, does a yaw turn and takes pictures, and you can do 360 panoramic, and I believe that's what that mode is. Then we have the return to home icon here, the auto takeoff, auto land icons, and you have some telemetry here at the bottom for speed, height, distance, your distance from your home point. And then you have more options right up here, and there are plenty of settings here. You have gesture modes right in here. Some settings there for sound. Here for calibration, you can perform your compass calibrations through the app, which might be a little easier. You can calibrate the gyros or accelerometer, and you have some help there. But overall, a decent flyer. I wish the footage would have had a little less jello, because it is a decent camera and it's clear and takes nice pictures, but unfortunately has a bit of jello that might be taken care of with maybe a homemade solution. But aside from that, it is an okay flyer, and has plenty of features, and is an interesting drone. So now let's take her for a flight and see how she performs.